I messed up and it feels like my wife will never move past it. Should I keep letting her punish me, or is it time to say enough is enough? I found this on Reddit and I have a lot to say about it. I'm Lara, the illustrating therapist. I use drawings to make relationship patterns easier to see. Let's get into this. My mother in law came to help out when my son spiked a fever of 100.2. She and my wife both became extremely upset and demanded that I call the doctor. I tried to point out that specifically they said this would happen, the doctor did, but neither of them would listen. My mother in law said that part of parenting was knowing better than a doctor and that I had clearly not learned anything about not always thinking I knew best. I took her aside into our bedroom, the wife, and tried to talk calmly, but she wasn't budging and kept telling me that her mother knew what was right. I asked her point blank if my opinion even mattered or if her mother's was the only one that did. And she said that she was listening to her mom because, unlike mine, at least her opinion I can respect. So let's do a quick summary of this post. This is written by the husband. He and his wife have been married for 6 years. They have been together for 10 years. They have 2 kids. They have the son, the one that had the ear infection, and then they have a daughter that was born last year. He lost his job last year, and he admits that it was his fault, a combination of ego and pride and a refusal to adapt, and he says here he was a bit of a prick about it. His wife had warned him she never wanted him to take the job in the first place, and she was pregnant when it happened with their daughter. And then suddenly she became the primary breadwinner, and the stress was too much. And so she asked him to leave. He moved out. He spent a year in therapy. He found a crappy part time job at Target. And then he managed to get a job in his field. After 6 months of being out of the house, she has let him come home, but not fully. Okay, here are his complaints. He sleeps in the basement on a couch. There has been no intimacy between us since they conceived the daughter, and there is no affection, no kisses or hugs. And if he comes even close to her, he gets reprimanded. So before I give you entirely my read on what's happening here, I want to show you a visual framework because I think without it, it's really easy to look at the situation and just pick a side. And I don't think that's particularly useful here. So let me pull this out. Okay. I like to think of a relationship like a bridge with each partner managing their side of it. Sometimes there is a detonation, like infidelity, addiction, or another type of betrayal. And I am thinking about this case right now in terms of betrayal. It sounds to me like they are working through the aftermath of this detonation. This kind of detonation can cause incredible damage, which takes a really long time to repair. And you can see now that the sides of the bridge are labeled. There's the hurt partner on one side and the acting out partner on the other. In this case, the hurt partner is the wife, the acting out partner is the husband. The first step is survival. The area needs to be cordoned off and managed so that no one gets hurt in this situation. There's going to be a lot of that because they've got little kids, a pregnancy, a new baby, and issues around finances. Rebuilding happens at the same time, but separately. Each partner has to strengthen their own side. Partners build at different speeds. One might have built back their entire side while the other is still pouring their concrete. Once both sides have been built and connected again, the bridge can open to limited traffic. Because the connection isn't strong yet, only one lane can open. So the hurt partner shares their side or their experience first. The acting out partner must be strong enough to listen with humility and compassion. Okay, so the question I want to answer for the rest of this video is where in this process are these two people right now? Because I don't think they are where he thinks they are. So let's look at his side of things first. He has absolutely done some things in order to rebuild his side of the bridge, right? He went to therapy for a year. He has had to take a job, which probably bruised his ego at Target, but then he was able to find a job in his field. He's actually taken 3 jobs, so he's taken on a lot of responsibility. But here's the thing. He also sounds aggrieved. He's feeling as though he's done enough and he needs to be forgiven already. He also sounds like he wants to be right. This whole thing with the ear infection, Instead of working as a team and listening to his wife and his mother-in-law, he's really trying to convince them that he's right and they're wrong. This does not sound like a man who has put his ego down entirely yet. 1 year of therapy does make you stronger for sure, but that is not an entirely rebuilt person. Let's now go over to her side, and I want to be really careful here because I think it would be easy to read this from his perspective and think that she's the problem, that she's punishing him and that she's being unnecessarily cruel. But I'm just not ready to go there because when I look at her behavior, I don't really see somebody who's decided that he's guilty and that she's going to punish him and make him pay. I see someone who's just at an earlier phase of this entire process. So again, we only have his account, so we have to infer all of this really carefully. But it seems to me that she is stabilizing. And in fact, I wonder if she's not still in this crisis management survival part of the process where she's cordoning things off and making sure that no one gets hurt. So I don't think that she is asking him to do penance because she's trying to figure out has he suffered enough. I think these are prerequisites for stability. This is just not a woman who has finished building her side of things yet. Now, I will say that her conflict style is not clean either. I'll point out a couple of things. She told him repeatedly that he was at a job that wasn't going to work out. That was like over a 2 year period. Granted, again, this is from his perspective. So who knows what is the actual facts here. But that sounds less like support and more like, I told you so. She's also picking fights in the middle of the night while he's working his third job. I think it's easy to see the mother-in-law situation as either a power play or a triangulation, right? Like a third person in the middle of their dynamic. And maybe that's true. But if you see this through the lens of this betrayal healing process, I think she might be still in the middle of crisis mode. If she's got a baby that's under a year and she's got a husband who's living in the basement and who just moved back in order for her to have been the primary breadwinner and also care for this newborn child and also a 5 year old, she might have brought mom in as scaffolding just to support her as she's rebuilding and trying to survive. So this is really just a symptom of where her rebuilding is right now. And this is where I want to talk about something that I think is the real issue underneath all of this, because he keeps asking the question, when does she let me back in? When does this get better? When have I done enough or been punished enough? And I think he's just asking the wrong question here because he doesn't understand how betrayal recovery and healing actually works. The bottom line is healing from betrayal is slow. And more importantly, it is sequenced. And what do I mean by sequence? What I mean by that is that you have to complete certain parts of it first before other parts can happen. You can't do it all at the same time. And in my experience, the acting out partner always wants this process to go faster than it actually does. And a lot of times that acting out partner has done a lot of visible work. In other words, they have found a new job in his case. They have joined a 12-step recovery and quit drinking. They have stopped seeing their affair partner. And they believe just by doing those things that it's all done and that things should be able to go back to where they were before. But the problem is there is a ton of damage. And in my experience, when there's betrayal present like this, the partner experiences something akin to PTSD, and you can feel it in their nervous system. They are hyper vigilant and they are just trying to put their world back together and get it stable again. So that ear tube scene with the fever that I read at the very beginning, that feels to me like an aftershock. Aftershocks are triggers that throw you back in time to the things that have happened previously in your relationship. And I wonder if his ego showing up in that moment cracked something that was starting to stabilize and shut down her bridge for a while. So he thinks he's in watch me prove it mode, and she's still in I don't even know if I'm okay yet mode. So those are completely different phases. And here's where he's really getting it wrong because he's asking for things, respect, affection, intimacy, decision making, as though those are things that she is withholding from him and that at any moment she could just decide to give them back. And that's just not how any of this works. In fact, those things, respect and intimacy, affection, Trust really is what we're talking about. They aren't granted. They grow, they develop, and they only grow and develop in a healthy environment. And in this situation, the environment's not healthy yet. He's asking for two-way traffic on a bridge that hasn't fully connected. It's not punishment for him, it's just where they are in the process. So the question isn't, when does she let me back in? When does she stop punishing me? The question is, what does it take for this environment to become healthy enough for those things to grow again? So what is it that they actually need? What they are going to need is a lot more communication than what they are currently having. They don't need to talk about the dog or the doctor or the fever or the mother-in-law. Right now, they need to talk about their relationship and where they are both still building. She needs to be able to say, here's where I am. Here's what I need to start feeling safe enough. And he needs to be able to hear that without making it about his timeline, his ego, his needs. Decision making actually happens at a bunch of different points in this process. And let me point them out. We see this sometimes when there's an affair and the person who's been cheated on just leaves, right? After the collapse is a point where a decision can happen to end the relationship. Another point that the decision making can happen is here. One person has rebuilds, and it doesn't have to be the hurt partner, it could be the acting out partner as well. And they look over at the progress that their partner is making, and it's not fast enough for them, or they don't think that rebuilding has even started or will ever start. And that is another point at which a decision can be made. But here's the third way a decision can be made. And this is what's surprising to a lot of people. Once both people are able to share their experience, once there's two-way traffic on the bridge and they're hearing a lot about each other and about their experiences, a lot of times this is where a decision can be made, a decision to stay together and to work harder and to rebuild trust, or a decision that this is not the person I want to be with for the rest of my life. And this conversation where both share their experience, that hasn't happened with these people. And until it does, neither one of them can know whether the marriage is salvageable. So the question he posted isn't the real question. The real question is, does she still want to build a relationship with him? And he can't answer that for her. He can ask, he can create a healthy enough connective environment that invites her to tell him, but he can't make her respect him. He can't make her be affectionate or intimate. All he can do is he can ensure that his side of the bridge is totally sound and that he can receive her traffic with an open heart. So now that you can see why betrayal recovery has to be sequenced, you might be wondering what it looks like for another couple. In the next video, I will show you exactly that with Mike and Yasmin from Blue Therapy, and I'll see you next time.